up, everyone? It's Shanita here with Jewels in the Making, a channel geared toward faith, lifestyle, and development. Today's topic is all the things that women need to know. So the way that I came across this title is through several conversations that I would have with family members or with some of my friends. And it was like this recycling information that everyone was saying. And so I thought to myself, I need to make a video about this. So I asked those family members and friends, what are some things that you wish that you would have done better? And they just began to explain some things that they didn't know before and that they gradually learned how to do, and how most women need to know these things in life. So the first thing is that life is a journey, not a destination. I get that from the singer India Arie. And that statement speaks volumes, because we think that once we hit a certain peak in our life that we have arrived, but you never stop growing. When you see performers, great performers, singing and dancing, and you say, well, what is the method? The method is consistency. They don't just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I have this great voice and I know all the dance routines. They're going to have to practice. There's stuff that they have to put in to get that result. And I want you guys to understand that you won't just arrive. God will take you on a journey, and life gradually happens. Don't allow life to just happen to you. Be involved in your life and seek God for guidance on how to deal with issues. You're going to be sad. You're going to mourn. You're going to cry. All of those are healthy. And especially during this time of COVID, this is a very, very, very hard time. This pandemic has rocked people's lives. And I want to let you know that you're not in it by yourself. You're going through hard times, but you got to keep on pushing. If that means seeing a therapist, if that means spending time with yourself, doing things that you love, reading the Bible, going for walks, working out, whatever happens in life, if it's tragic or good, is going to happen in life. That's just a part of life. You got to take the good with the bad. They both go hand in hand, but there are ways to deal with that. So find a great coping mechanism to help you deal with negativity. Don't go to drugs. Don't go to alcohol. Turn to God. Go to a therapist. Spend time with yourself. Learn yourself. Build a self-care regimen so that you can physically and mentally stay sane, especially during this pandemic. The second thing is that God is faithful. God is faithful. God is not conditional. He is unconditional. And what that means is no matter what you do, no matter what you say, God will always love you unconditionally. Unconditionally. And so we also have to be faithful to Him. We have to spend time reading our word. We have to be dedicated to fasting. We have to be dedicated to reading devotions. We have to be dedicated to praying and worshiping. We have to be dedicated to that so that we may get the wisdom of God, that we may build a relationship with Him, a foundation. Above all, the foundation with Christ, your foundation with Christ, is mandatory. For anything to work in your life, you have to know God's will and His way. And you'll only know that through relationship. So God is faithful to you, so you also must be faithful to Him. The third thing is, do not place a period where God has placed a comma. So I'm just going to share a brief story with you. There was a time that I was so depressed, And I was walking around. People were like, "How are you doing?" "I'm doing great. How are you?" I was encouraging people, and at the same time going home and saying, "God, if I don't wake up in the morning, it's all right with me." I was in such a dark place, ready to place a period where God was placing a comma, only because I wasn't where I thought I should be. And so in that, I begin to beat myself up. I begin to feel sad and depressed. And God is like, "Shanita, I have more for you. You got to keep on going. You got to do what I told you to do. And in due season, you will reap a harvest." So I am telling you, if you're at the brink of swallowing those pills right now, if you're at the brink of cutting your wrists right now, if you're at the brink of any type of suicide right now, I ask that you reconsider, because there is so much that God has in store for you. And if you would just only press through a little more. I know you're tired of pressing through, but press through a little more. And it's funny that I had that thought, because as you guys know, I recently got over COVID. And all I could tell, or all I could say to God or say in my prayers is, "God, please let me wake up in the morning. Please let me finish the assignment that you have given me on this earth. Please allow me to do those things." That's all I could say. So time changes. You won't always be in that mindset of depression and sadness. It will get better. Just keep pushing. The fourth thing, is to value yourself. You will not know how to value yourself until you spend time with God, and He gives you clarification. He gives you instruction and wisdom on how your character should be. Once you develop as a woman and God develops you and prepares you, you will have this godly confidence about yourself, where you're not comparing yourself to a woman who may dress better than you, or look better than you, or sing better than you, or is married and you're not, or have children and you don't, or have the car or the dream house and you don't. You won't compare yourself to them, because you have godly confidence, and you have godly confidence because you have spent time with Christ. And so you will say to yourself, "I am happy that that woman has what she has, because what God has for me is for me, and blessings can go to anyone, and I'm not going to compare myself, and I'm not going to be jealous of anyone else." That takes time. That takes time, because we live in such a comparison world. You don't just arrive with that, but a way that you can get over it is be intentional about your thoughts. If you start being jealous of someone else, ask yourself, why are you being jealous about that? Or pray that God take those feelings away from you. But be intentional. Don't just let those thoughts linger in your head and fester in your heart. Have value in yourself. When you have value in yourself, you will not settle in jobs, you will not settle in relationships, and you will not settle in friendships once you know whose you are and who you are. And they both work hand in hand. So the fifth thing is getting wisdom about your career. And what I mean by that, and I'm going to be coming from a biblical standpoint, is that you want to seek God on where He wants you to be. And it doesn't matter what the field is, you want to seek Him on where you should go. Because you can choose the wrong job based on the money or the comfortability or whatever, and it is not the place where God wants you to be, and you will experience hardships because you're not where He wants you to be. So when it comes to careers, no matter if you are a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, a janitor, a customer representative, whatever you are, you want to make sure that you seek God, and that's you're in the place that you're supposed to be. And another part of that is you can still have godly representation in secular areas. So, what I mean by that is when you look at Daniel from the Bible, Daniel was a high government official. He was the president, right? And he was over so many people who did not believe in the God that he believed in, but he still represented God to the best of his ability. He still sacrificed to God. He still was disciplined, and he was set apart from the others. And so when we work in those areas that are not, maybe we don't work at a church, maybe we don't work at a Christian school, but we're in other areas and we can still have influence. Your influence is not subject to the church, especially as a Christian. So when you see people cheating or doing things that they're not supposed to be doing on the job, you're going to set an example and you're not going to do what they do. And that's a godly representation. You're being fair. You're being honest to all people. That is a godly representation. And so your career is not based on money and is not based on position. And God will allow money to come to you and he will take care of everything that you need. But in the same token, your life is not based on that. You go into the workforce and you change the environment. The environment does not change you. So that's number one when it comes to careers. Another thing when it comes to careers is steward over your money and your finances better than how you have been in the past. I know one of my prayers have been for God to tell me and give me wisdom on how to use any stimulus money that I may get, or my paychecks, or any extra income that I get in. I've been asking God, hey, how should I use this money wisely? I also tithe. Every amount of money that I get, I am tithing. Why? Why is tithing so important? Because it's showing discipline. It's showing God that you are sacrificing. You are giving up something very important, which is money, to him. And so no matter what your stance is on, oh, well, the church just wants your money, or the pastor driving this, or the first lady wearing this is where my money's going. That's not what you need to be worried about. Worry about the obedience of fasting and also giving tithe. That shows obedience. When you can do those two things, it shows God that he can trust you. Okay. And I can tell you, I've never went without a meal. I've never went without a roof over my head, clothes on my back, or a car to drive. And I really attribute that to the fact that I always give back to God what is his anyway, because I wouldn't have the car. I wouldn't have the house. I wouldn't have any money if it wasn't for him. Tithing is very important. It's not about the amount. It's about the heart posture. So when it comes to careers, you also need to be mindful of how you're spending your money, and you also need to tithe your money. Now, when it comes to how you spend your money, if you want a purse that costs $1,500 or $1,800 and you don't have double of that in your savings, then boo-boo, you don't need the purse. Point blank, period. Maybe what you need to do is you can sell a previous purse to get it, or you can save a certain amount of money each month from your check to go towards the purse. I'm not saying that you should live in lack or you shouldn't be able to get the things that you want to get. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be responsible. If you really can't afford it, then you shouldn't be purchasing it. And the last thing that goes along with careers is have a side job. Have a job where you have turned your hobby into a form of getting income. So it could be baking, it could be doing hair, it can be gardening, it can be making jewelry or journals or whatever the case may be, or even making masks. Whatever the case may be, turn that passion into money. And then whatever that extra income is, you can spend on student loans or maybe a purse or something of that nature because you have extra income coming in. All right, so the very last thing, and this is the sixth thing, is relationships. I'm not going to talk about marriage because I'm not married, but I will talk about dating relationships. And three things that you need to know before you get into a dating relationship is you need to know who you are, you need to know where you're going in the future, and you need to know what plans you have to get to where you're going in the future. And along with that, you need to have non-negotiables, things that you're not willing to bend on. And that is very key, because what will happen is you will try to make that man do what you want him to do, and he will resent you because either he's not ready yet or he's just not going to change. But it is not for you to change him. I visualize that part as a panther being connected with a pig, right? And a panther moves very fast and is very, very quick, but that pig is not going to move as quickly as that panther. Now, I'm not saying the person that you need to be with is the person that pray like you pray, because they may not pray like you pray. They may not listen to the same worship music that you listen to. That's not what I mean. But the foundation of Christ, if they don't have that, if they don't desire to seek that, you should reconsider that relationship. Another thing that goes along with relationships is if that man is treating you as though he hates you, then you have to say to yourself, I'm looking at your actions, and so I'm going to match your actions. If you're showing me that you don't have time for me, if you're cheating on me, if you're doing things that you're not supposed to be doing towards me, then I'm going to have to match that energy and say, well, I no longer want to be a part of this. And that's hard because we all want to be married. We all want to be in a relationship, but take it from someone who knows. You don't want to stay in a place longer than you're supposed to. There is a pastor out by the name of Dr. Darius Daniels, and he says it so eloquently. He has a book called Relational Intelligence. And he discusses the types of people. And it's not just romantic relationships, it's business relationships and just regular friendships, as well as romantic relationships. And he talks about this knowing where to place people in your life. And the fact that some people that we place as best friends are just supposed to be associates. And we give all of our heart to them and we tell them everything. And then we find out that maybe they're talking behind our back or something of that nature. And our feelings are hurt. And then we get cold-hearted, like, oh, I'm not going to open up to anyone anymore. And it's like, no, because you place that person as a best friend when they were supposed to be an associate. I love that analogy. We have to know how to place people in our lives. Maybe you need to rethink those relationships, romantic relationships, or friendships that are not serving you any longer. So guys, I hope I have been a blessing to you. And remember, guys, that we're all kings and queens of the Most High, Jesus Christ. Be blessed.